Well, the Southern Region Athletics, or CAA Southern Region 5, status, if you look at it closely, we are a region that is very privileged because the Southern Africa, most of the countries, they do have infrastructure for athletics. You talk of South Africa, you talk of Zimbabwe, you talk of Zambia, we talk of Botswana, Namibia, Angola. They do have the infrastructure for athletics, and we do have population, but that alone does not make us to be comfortable with the status that we have. We are good. It's one of the most active region in Africa, and it's one of the most active region in terms of all the disciplines of athletics. And if you look at the medals that are won between South Africa and Botswana, it's sprints, it's hurdles, it's jumps, it's throws, it's marathons, half marathons, and all that. We are there, and we believe we are followed with Kenya. Kenya's dominance, which is East Africa, they are very strong in terms of the middle distance and the longer distance. But when it comes to jumps, when it comes to throws, when it comes to others, vertical jumps and horizontal jumps, they are not as strong as we are. Hence, you see South Africa and Botswana being ranked very high in Africa. It's because of the broadness of our programs. If you look at Botswana, the 200 and the 400 and 800, they are very consistent. And if you look at their youth and junior athletes and senior athletes, they are very consistent as a small nation. So in the world we want to be, I believe we are capable if we can put our heads together and listen to one another and do what needs to be done. We can be able to be a major force, because there is no Diamond League competition without Southern Africa, and most importantly, Botswana and South Africa. In the Commonwealth Games, if you look at the medals that we win, in the World Cup, in the youth and junior IAAF, in the senior, we are there. In the road runnings and cross country, we are there. We are getting stronger and stronger. But what we need to do most, as I'm in the privilege of being the secretary of this organization, is to realign this organization, the Southern region, by ensuring that all the 14 nations, they do have athletics and they concentrate in their core business. And the core business is athletes and coaches as well as competition. If we can do that, we will be even the strongest. We are very weak. I've seen some of the nations, they are very weak. And we need to begin to approach their governments to work with them. It's not that the governments are not working with some of the countries. In South Africa, our government is working with us. In other 1 or 2 or 3 countries, they are working with their government. But the biggest problem that we've seen is that some of the countries, they don't come to the Southern Region Championships because they don't have money. But you go to the competitions that are organized by government. For an example, the Region 5 that was taking place in Botswana, all the nations that have not sent athletes, they had athletes there because governments were paying for them. And they do have athletes. They won medals. They took medals from South African athletes. So it means that you need to create that correlation and the collaboration between Southern Region and the countries sports and recreation departments or education and youth that organize events that send athletes to the AU Sports Council events. It means that there is a disjuncture, and we are working. I've got a plan already how to tackle that so that more and more countries, when we have the Southern Region Championships, you don't see 300 athletes, but you must be able to have over 1,000 or 2,000 athletes. But governments must be able to assist. The Olympic committees, the sports commissions must be able to assist those athletics federations. Why do we say that? Athletics, as you would know, is the best sport and is the easiest sport and easily accessible by many athletes. And you can train an individual athlete and he can become a national athlete and an Olympic athlete and a world champion. I can cite one example. We went to the World Championships in Tampere. The boy from Zambia came back with a silver medal in the 400 meters. When we asked him, when did you start running? He said, in 2017. Who's training you? He said, there is a guy who's training me. It means that guy is doing more work, but it needs to be supported by government. It needs to be supported by the Olympic Committee. They need to sit together and all that. But from South African side, we'll be able to assist them from the Secretariat and say, this is what we need to do. Put aside all other issues, focus in this area. You will see the results coming in and all that.
What do you think the region's potential is in the long run, and what direction do you think it needs to take?
Well, the region must be the leader in the long run in Africa. Already South Africa is a leader, but we want the region, when we go to the African competitions, they must be able to take half of the medals, and they must be able to learn from Kenya and Ethiopia and take those medals. If they have managed to win the 800 meters, Botswana boy winning, the South African boys and South African girls winning those medals and taking those medals from Kenya, Ethiopia, Djibouti and all that, we can be able to be a stronger one. With the West Africa, we have taken almost all the male sprints, and we are getting medals in the women's section and all that. So it's a matter of having a plan and stick to that plan, and those who are not doing it, they must step aside and allow people who are doing it. And we'll be separating, as we did in South Africa, those who are interested in the politics of athletics and those who are interested in flying the flag of their own countries. And you cannot fly it as an administrator. It will only be flown by the athlete and the coach who are training every day, wanting to be on the podium. And that is what we are going to do and say. It's going to be difficult, but I know that there will be coaches, and in each and every country, there are people who are patriotic to their country, and there are athletes who wants to beat South Africa, who wants to beat the world, and they don't have the competitions as many as South Africa. If they are properly trained, they will be fresh athletes with fresh legs. They can be able to even surprise South Africa and the world.
How important is the 29 international calendar to the region?
It's very important because the region must organize itself and organize competitions. You have 4 or 5 countries in the islands of the Indian Ocean, and you have others in the mainland. And we're working on how do we structure this. Why do you want them to come to the mainland? It costs them a lot of money. Why don't they organize themselves within the region so that they can be able to move from Comoros to Mauritius to Madagascar to all those nations, and they can only come here if there is no need. But if you expect them to come this side all the time, or you expect the mainland to go on the other side, you are not creating a controlled environment. You are spreading resources unnecessarily. You have to streamline the usage of resources, both human resources and financial resources. It is easy for us, for an example, Angola, Namibia, Lesotho, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and and Mozambique to be able to come together for one day and go. So you have to create something like that, create the pockets, and those pockets must create excellence, and the competitions must be run in such a way that athletes can be able to say, we want to continue with our sport. And apart from that, what we need to do, that we have realized coming in and reading the reports, coaches in the southern region have not been prioritized by many countries. And you cannot be able to have athletes if you don't have coaches. The qualification of coaches, and those coaches must be supervised. They must be able to have a clear plan, and that plan must be a regional plan to say, for the region going to the 2019 and the 2021 African Championships or 2020 Championships, countries we want the following medals. Don't only say, yes, South Africa and Botswana, we are happy with you. We want to spread the medals by winning as many as possible. And remember, before 1995, Zimbabwe was very strong. And we want to believe that they do have infrastructure in Bulawayo and Harare. They have got best infrastructure. And now they are stable. We've seen the athletes coming in. But we are saying to our colleagues and counterparts on the other side, there was a coach, so here is the coach, is writing to us as South Africa wanting to come and work here. Botswana, there is coach so is training sprints. He wants to come to South Africa. We are not going to take him as a federation because we don't want to destroy what you have started. Talk to this coach. Here is the email. We copy them and said, talk to this person, engage him. He has papers and he has produced athletes in the past. But because of change of administration and because of the politics of administration, some of the people get lost. And we have seen that here in South Africa. Athletes and coaches easily get distracted if they don't know that their future is well looked after. This is what Southern region individual countries must do, and we'll assist them to do that, and we'll drive that process so that we can be able to be a powerhouse, not only in Africa, but of the world.
I think you've kind of touched on this, but
Yes.
which areas of cooperation can the individual member countries explore among one another?
It's exchange programs. For an example, you allow athletes to come to Pretoria or to Central Gauteng, or Angola athletes can come to Cape Town if it is easy to go to Cape Town and Boland, where they can be able to come over the weekend with their coaches. They train and they see demonstrations. They go back and implement what they have learned. The athlete has seen it, the coach has seen it. They know when you train for the 100 meters, how many runs, how many seconds do you rest, and what sort of drills you're doing in the short put, discuss, and all those things. So we will be able to do that. We already spoke about that during the elections, that guys, we need to see this happening. But most importantly, you need coaches to exchange information. But we know that coaches are very jealous people. They may not be able to do that. But what is critical is that coaches must come with their athletes to the training camp. In a training camp, you'll have different aspects. And you'll have the coach of Simbini handling how do you train speed, how do you train acceleration, and people will be able to see, they will be able to go back and implement. So we need each other. There are things that we don't have in South Africa. There are skills that we don't have. There are best coaches in other countries who are better than some of our coaches here. So our coaches here must learn from them. And for our best coaches here must also teach those who are coming from outside. Teaching is a bad term. You must be able to bring people to the same room. They will be able to see what you do and they will pick up those things, and they will be able to, on their own will and time, be able to say, what did you do? Why do you do this? And all that. But if you bring them in, it will be a question. If you bring them in a room like this, there will be a question of superiority that South Africa or Angola thinks they are superior in this. But if you allow coaches on the field and athletes on the field, they will be able to do that. The other one is the technical organization of competitions. We are very low when it comes to that. And we have said that we will organize, and South Africa will begin to do that by organizing courses for officiating, and people will go through lecture and will write exams, then they will come back, or they will be posted into different countries where there are competitions, and the Secretariat and the Technical Committee of Southern Region will be able to do that. You have been qualified as a walk judge, but in your country you don't have this. But we have passed with distinction. Now there is a competition in Zambia. We are sending you to Zambia. And you are from Angola, we are sending you there so that you can be able to practice. When you practice, you will be able to assist our athletes to be able to go through a series of competitions. And the other part that we said we will be able to do is the involvement of governments to make sure that government is very powerful. Like in this country, we've got 3 tiers of government: is the district, is the local, is the provincial, and the national. And many of the things are in the hands of the district government or provincial government, as well as local government in these countries when you travel. And you see the directors, you see the mayors, you see whosoever. The interest is there, but there is lack of coordination. So bring government in and demarcate them their role, that we need you to assist us with 1, 2, 3, 4. Angola will be hosting the 14 countries. All what we need is this. This is tourism. And if it is tourism, people are coming in to pay. They will sleep in the hotels. Government will benefit. So look after these people because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So other countries are doing that, including ourselves. Yes.
This is, I think, is directly related to the upcoming season. So,
yes.
What are the areas you have identified as needing urgent attention in order to kickstart the new season?
It's confirmation of the calendar for the region. And why confirmation? You need to know who is going to host which event, so that they begin to send information to all the countries well in advance. You don't have to send this a week before. Information must be sent to countries 2 months, 3 months, or even 6 months or 8 months before. But since we are in, we'll make sure that the calendar even of next year, we must finish it before June so that people can be able to plan accordingly. Go to the very same government during the budget a period so that they can be able to be prioritized and be given money to transport athletes to this competition and that competition and that competition. That is number 1. Number 2 is deciding really what do we want to do as the region. Do we want to organize competitions, and what kind of competitions do we want to organize? Are we happy with 3 countries coming into a competition? Is only South Africa that is coming with a full strength team and all the medals are going to South Africa, and you realize 3 days, 5 days before at times, then you have 8 athletes of South Africa so that they can be able to have that competition. There is that hard talk that we must have, that do we want to be just federations existing for the sake of being there, or we are there for the athletes to create opportunities for the athletes in the region. And I believe strongly that we were elected in the Southern region in order to make Southern region stronger. But it cannot be stronger in the boardroom only. It must be stronger on the field where athletes are participating. Technically, it must be strong on the side of the coaches who must be prepared to train. It must be stronger. We are worried that the school's structure in Southern region and in some of the countries is not structured the way that we are structured in the country, because that's where everything starts. If the primary schools do not have the competition and the secondary schools do not have the competition, that country will not be able to have athletes. So we have to look at all those things. Hence, I've said you need the departments of education there, the ministers. If we have to go to that country and present, we need the sports and recreation minister, and you need even every other person, the mayors of that country, to say this is the future of your country. Create opportunities. Please help to revamp this particular track. In 2 years' time, we'll be coming here, or in a year's time, we'll be coming here for the competition, and it will be a legacy for you as a politician. But the athletes, the schools, the clubs, the province, and all that will be using this and all that. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done. But coordination is the biggest that needs to be done, and collaboration with the different role players and stakeholders will make this region a powerful region.
Is there work that can be done, or what attention will be given to perhaps one of the shortcomings of the region, which is a non-existence of reliable statistics and information on the internet websites?
Well, the critical thing to link people nowadays is digital technology. We have also realized that when you write letters to the addresses, to the email addresses that are there, there is no response. We don't know why, we cannot assume, but that is the weakness. Because when I write to you, you respond to me via WhatsApp, via email and all that. And that email, it has got the address that was designed by IAAF. That's where you, like ours is IAAF or RSA at IAAF.com or whatever. So that must be opened every 10 minutes by a person who is working in that office. Whether the biggest challenge is that there is no personnel that is working on a full-time basis to man those offices, we will be able to determine that. You cannot be able to run athletics without having one person who is going to receive emails, respond to emails. It means that the athletes cannot be able to reach get information from the office. When is the competition? Where is the competition? What age group? What are the requirements? And all those things. So we have to make sure that we create a website, but we also digitalize as much information as possible. The other thing that we have picked up, which is a problem, there is no organized journalists who are writing athletics in Southern region. It is in this country, maybe in Botswana. The rest, they are not writing anything. They are all in soccer and other sports. So we have asked Sifiso, and I'm sure he will talk to you, that he must be able to assist us and create that platform. But once that platform is created, you need somebody who's going to have the statistics. If competition takes place and records are broken in 2018 in South Africa, in the 100 meters, 10.31, 10.1 something, and that must appear as a South African record, but it must also appear as the CAA Southern Region record. But it cannot be without statisticians who are going to organize this information. We need passionate people. We even said that we need to go as far as because the southern region is having the French-speaking, the Portuguese, and the English-speaking. And some of the Portuguese-speaking countries, they struggle to follow what is being discussed. And we hold our meetings in English. And when they don't participate, and I said, and I will always say, it's because they miss some of the things. And when you speak like this in English, they don't understand when are the deadlines and all that. So you'll have to interpret some of the information. I was talking to our CEO and the president of the Mauritian Athletics, Vivian, to say, put the rules in English and in French so that people can be able to be comfortable. We learn better in our languages, but if it is not your language, you'll struggle. I will imagine how would I survive if the entire region is a Portuguese-speaking country. South Africa will miss a lot of competitions, a lot of meetings, and a lot of deadlines and all that. So those are the things that need to be done in order to make sure that as a region, we move with everybody. The language is the biggest factor, and the coordination is the biggest factor. Collaboration of all stakeholders is a biggest factor, and focus in athletics, in athletes development, in coaches development, technical development and competition. Then this region will not be touched by anybody in the world.
With the position of treasurer done away with in the constitution, what is the region's strategy to improve its finances and attract better funding?
Well, that was a directive that came from the CAA, and CAA got that from the IAAF, that IAAF is doing away with those positions because they have permanent people who are supposed to be within the federation. And I'm sure that with the president and the executive, the strategy will be to find a person who is going to be able to do this and do this diligently. Because over the past years, there has been challenges, and you know that the most important thing is the corporate governance. And if there is money that coming from IAAF to the region in the tune of 25,000 US dollars, it's meant to make the region to be able to organize competitions. Maybe some of that need to be directed to find a person who is going to be a volunteer and who is qualified auditor and all that, so that there is credibility and people don't fight over what happened to $1,000 and all those things. Those accounts need to be structured in a way that even when you take it to any of the companies, you said that here is an organization, it has been existing, it has got an audited financial statement. Our core business is competitions, traveling, and this and that and that and that and that. So we have arrived to that decision, and it is a matter of implementing and finding the suitable candidate that is going to be able to assist the CAA Southern region to be able to fully account for its resources that they get from the IAAF. Otherwise, without that, IAAF will not release money to the Southern region because there is no accountability.
One of the issues perhaps is that there's limited radio and TV coverage across the region for athletics and the selling of broadcast rights.
Yes.
Realistically, at this stage, how far has the region got to go to be able to reach that target?
It's a lack of structure and persuasion, as far as I'm concerned. Because when the competition was in South Africa, it was broadcasted. When you go to Botswana, competition is broadcasted. When you go to Zimbabwe, it broadcasted. Even in the streets, they put big screens, they put it live and all that. It means that there is willingness from the side of the broadcasters, whether they are private broadcasters or public broadcasters. And they don't know who is who in the Southern region. It is the responsibility of the Secretariat and the committee that has been elected to make sure that the southern region, the 14 countries, we call them and we say that here we are, here is our calendar, it's happening on such and such a day, and package our activities in such a way that if we want to sell it to Zimbabwe, we sell it to Zimbabwe private broadcaster. If we want to sell it to South Africa, we sell it to South Africa. If we want to sell it within the South African or within ASA broadcasting package, and you go to SABC when you sign a contract, you must be able to do that. But it's a matter of, as I've said earlier on, coordination. Things are there, but they need to be coordinated. And you need experts, you need people who understand broadcasting and media at large to be able to control that space and structure that space on behalf of the region. You need press, you need a person who's going to coordinate press. And as I've said, that writers are not there who are doing these things. They are not reporting about an athlete of their country who won against South African athlete. It's supposed to be the headline story at the back of the page of the newspaper, or the front line, that they have defeated South Africa, because some of them, they believe that if you defeat South Africa, you are the greatest thing. So it's a matter of coordinating, but also the biggest thing that we need to do is to be patient with each other, is educating each other. And I'm very mindful as a South African that whenever you feel like criticizing someone, you need to be very mindful of the fact that person may not have had the same advantages or coming from the same environment like you or like me. Maybe it is easy in South Africa, but in other countries, the priorities are different when it comes to sport. But let us not fail before starting. Let us start and coordinate all these things and see where we are going to end.
Okay, so the Africa Athletics League was held for the first time last year. What can people expect from this year's version, including the format, and where is it going to fit into the calendar?
There are critical things that we need to do. Fortunately, I spoke to the owner of that event and the person who invented that. He was in Angola before, on the 24th of December and on the 3rd of January. He was in I'm sorry, not Angola. He was in DRC, and he spoke to me wanting to know where do they fit in and all that, African Diamond Council. And I said to him, the manner in which it was introduced and the controversies that came, we'll have to restructure the whole idea. The idea must be about athletes. The idea must be about showcasing Southern region and Africa. The idea must be to respect the athletes and all the professionals who work around the athletes. Respect the media, respect the coaches, respect the technical officials. Everything must be organized to the T if it is going to be a prestigious competition. I've made an example of the Athletics Grand Prix competition in South Africa, the manner in which it was organized. We said we must surpass that level because it's about Africa, it's about showcasing our stars, and it's about inviting athletes from USA, from other parts of Africa, Europe and all that. When they come here, they must come to something that is organized like a military situation. He agreed with me. And we will certainly need that kind of competition, but it has to be reorganized, restructured, if it has to continue. And I've put it blunt, speaking on behalf of ASA. I said, if it is going to come back with the characters that were there, we will not be part of a joke. It must come back in a manner and a form that the Southern region and the countries that are going to host. If there is going to be 3 legs or it's going to be 5 legs or whatever, they must be brought in. There must be a book as to how things are going to be organized. They must be the same as IAAF Diamond League, same as IAAF Golden League that used to be there. It must be poof. If it is 16 events is going to start at 4 and is going to finish at 7. And no excuses, no changing of program. You tell the public that the competition is going to start at 10 and the next morning you say the competition is going to start at 2. We cannot be able to be part of that. We are running a brand in South Africa, so as other countries, and this brand must live to the highest level, and people must aspire, people must want to be part of it. And athletes from all over the world must say, I'm not going to Europe, I'm coming to Africa to run in that league.
And then how does the regional body aim to improve participation of member countries in the activities of the Southern region?
Well, I've dealt with that, but I think the simplest thing is to make sure that you capacitate the federations themselves and the people, the important people in their own countries. And in other countries, I believe there is parallel approach instead of having a collective approach. One is government, one is Olympic Committee, one is the Sports Commission and all that. Those 3, you cannot be able to operate without them. And in this country, we are not operating parallel to SASCOC. We are not operating parallel to the national minister and national sports and recreation and provincial and local government and district government and metros and all that. We work with them, we give each other space, we support each other. They support our vision, we support their vision of a healthy and of an active and a healthy nation. And they say that we'll support you, we'll give you infrastructure, we'll give you grants in order to be able to do this and that and that. So we need to live together, accommodate each other and one another in order to be able to achieve our own different goals and objectives.